Soft slab mug. This is soft clay, not leather hard. It's nice and soft so you can bend it into a cylinder. Have a mug that you're going to work with to get the sizes right. You have to take a piece of cardboard and cut it into a little square. This is going to keep your mug from sticking to the table and getting ruined when you try to pull it off the table. You're really going to need to turn this mug around. For clay, you're going to come down 2 fingers on your whole entire bag of clay and cut a slab all the way across that's 2 fingers deep. There you go, ready to roll out. Get your pencils ready, your roller. Sometimes the clay will stick to your roller, and a good thing to do is to put a piece of fabric on top of your clay if it starts to stick. A nice smooth piece of fabric, and it will help so much. There we go, we have a nice slab now, really smooth. You're going to take a sheet of notebook paper and bend it hot dog style into a mug template. Grab a straight edge, a ruler, or a cardboard box, something straight, and you'll cut out your template. You can use a needle tool, a knife, or a toothpick. Take your clay and wrap it in a wet towel. That extra clay can be used later. Let's make the bottom. It's a piece about the size of your hand. Roll it out. Uh-oh, I see an air bubble. You should check for air bubbles. If you see something that looks like a blister, then pop it and push the air out. Cut out around one of your favorite mugs. Ooh, that's ragged and ugly. We're going to have to fix that with a sponge. Way better. You can lightly smooth out your clay. Don't push hard. Now we're going to try to bevel 2 edges of the clay. So when our cylinder comes together, it looks really smooth. I'm going to bevel and hold my needle tool the whole time at the same angle. Grab a pencil and really lightly give yourself a line on where to cut, really lightly. Holding my needle tool at the same angle the whole time, I'll be able to get consistent bevels on both sides. Keep that needle tool or knife at the same angle the whole time for both cuts. Same angle here in the back. Now I've got a bevel on 2 sides of my clay where the mug is going to come together. Here's the bottom of our mug. You can score around the edge. Make sure the bottom of this mug is really smooth. No big messes on this mug bottom because you're not going to be able to get your hand in there later. Score around the edges of your rectangle slab. All right, put some slip on the bottom of your mug, keeping it real smooth. Make it look really good. Let's put some pattern on our mug. You developed some ideas about what patterns you like. Go ahead and have fun now. Really make it pretty. Add a lot. Notice I'm not scratching any designs in there with a needle tool. I'm pressing them in. It looks really nice. I'm creating pattern using repeating elements. The clay is nice and soft. It loves to be bent when it's in the plastic stage, like this. Adding slip and making sure there's no air gaps. On 3 sides of my slab. I've got wet slip on the bottom round piece of clay and on the rectangle slab. Uh-oh, I got a problem. I made a mistake. I made my rectangle too big. I'm gonna have to cut it down. That's okay. That's the fun thing about clay, you can change things. So now I'm gonna try to keep the bevel the same and cut it down the side so it fits. A little bit of slip. Make sure the bottom of your cup is really smooth. The slip is still wet. You're going to use one hand inside the mug and one hand outside of the mug. One hand gives it support and the other hand presses it together. Using your card or your rib tool, you're going to create what is called a foot on the bottom of the mug. The foot is a really nice curve on the bottom of the mug. It looks really nice and professional. Take your time. You can always tell projects that people took time on because they look great. See that nice curved bottom? Now you're going to use a popsicle stick or a wood smoothing tool to go inside of the mug to get those 2 pieces of clay to stick together and to get the bottom smoothly attached. All the seams need to be pushed together. Try to keep the inside as clean as possible. Ooh, this edge is really yucky. It's rough. It does not look good. I'm going to have to use a damp sponge to clean that edge off. Spend a lot of time with your card, your rib, and your sponge. You really want it smooth and nice. Take a really wet towel and put it away at night. Seal it really well because it might have to stay wet for a couple days. Twist it airtight. Take a rectangle piece of clay. It's about 4 fingers by about 3 fingers in each direction. 4 fingers wide. And start to slam it into a rectangle. This part's fun. You're going to roll it out just like your other slab. Nice and smooth. Now you're going to cut handles. You're going to use your rolling pin as a measurement. That's about how big your handles need to be as far as how wide they need to be. Now you're going to get a straight edge. Use a hamburger style folded piece of notebook paper. This is just approximate. It's not perfect. It's a rough dimension. And make sure and use your sponge to really smooth these out. Take them and separate the handles. While the clay is very soft and very plastic, A damp sponge will smooth all of the edges. You're going to make a lot of handles. The reason is a lot of your handles are not going to work out. So we always have to use a lot. You're going to use the curve of your thumb and the curve of your index finger to make a dent or a slope inside of the handle. Gently take your thumb, very gently. We're not squishing hard. We're just making a slight curve. Gently take your thumb and your finger and give that clay a little bit of an indentation. This makes your handle have a nice curve to it. Use your mug as a measuring device, the mug you already have, to figure out how big your handles need to be. You're going to make a variety of handles. Always use that thumb technique to give your handles a little curve. You should make at least 6 handles. And you can see that the clay has dried a little bit. It's still wet. It's been drying for about 20 minutes. It's still moist. It still bends, but it's not floppy anymore. Now we're going to need to attach these handles now that they've dried a little bit for about 20 minutes and they're not floppy anymore. Keep your slip very controlled in this time because it will save you a lot of cleanup. I'm going to take my rib or my credit card, debit card, and scrape a really nice foot along the bottom. I'm going to take a damp sponge and go over the areas that need a little smoothing. Now I'm going to figure out which handle looks good. My handles are a little bit drier. Oh, wait, that doesn't fit. You might have to cut a curve into your handles so it fits really well. Yeah, not quite yet, almost. Keep working on them till they get a good fit on the top and a good fit on the bottom. You might have to carve some of your clay away. Now you're going to slip and score. You're going to do this a few times. You're going to score both sides of the handle. Apply a very thin layer of slip. Do not make a mess here because it'll be a pain to fix it. So put a thin layer of slip in and stick it on the mug. Wait, I never scored the mug. Haha, just kidding. Right now what I did is I let myself know where the mug attaches. So now I score it. My wet slip tells me where to score it. I'm going to score it 2 or 3 times in that space. And can you see that I'm not making a mess with the slip? I slip it and then I score it again and again, 2 or 3 times, with a small pool of slip that is not messy. See, I'm being careful to just slip it and score it where I need to, 2 or 3 times in that spot. I'm going to come back here and slip and score again on the handles, 2 or 3 times. Just use a little slip so you don't make a mess. But you do want to slip and score 2 or 3 times because you want a really strong attachment on that mug. Pick the handle you like best. It's up to you. You get to pick what handle you like. And push them together. Push pretty hard. You really want it to stick. Put your hand in the mug so it's reinforced and you can push pretty hard. There you go. I like to twist my damp sponge into a small little tip there, and I'm able to be really careful and clean the slip in the little edges. Really want it clean. Once again, I'm going over that foot to make sure it looks nice and crisp. Clean up always with a damp sponge. This is craftsmanship. Nice and smooth on the bottom. Good. Always remember your initials, your class period, and then lightly press on top so it doesn't feel rough. And make sure to take those old handles, dip them in water, and put them in a plastic bag, and you can reuse the clay later. Put your mug in a plastic bag with a little air gap opening so it can dry slowly.